Well, hello, everybody. Good morning or good night, depending on when you read these stories. We are going to continue the Critter Club, Amy and the Missing Puppy, today. We left off on Chapter 7. But I wanted to say this. My youngest sister recently found my page, and she reminded me when she was a little girl that I used to read to her as well, and that she thought this was great because now somebody else got to enjoy that. So a little felt right in the heart there. So thank you. Okay, so we're going to start off chapter 7 called Follow That Puppy. If you remember correctly, the girls were just figuring out places in the last chapter that they can go and look. That's where they left off. So they made a list of all the places that they could go and see if Rufus was hiding at or was playing around. And right now I believe it's the two girls, Amy and Ellie, and they're looking. So here we go. Chapter 7, Follow That Puppy. The next day, Amy rode her bike to Ellie's house. Together, she and Ellie pedaled towards the park. It was the first on their list. There's that list. Can you believe today is Wednesday? Ellie called to Amy. Spring break is already halfway over. Ellie was right. Wow, thought Amy. She had imagined spending the entire week reading a mystery. Time sure does fly when you're solving one. On their way to the park, Amy and Ellie passed Liz's house. Amy was shocked to see Liz's family van in the driveway. Look, Amy called. Liz is back, early. As the girls parked their bikes, Liz came out of the house. Yay, Liz! Ellie cried. The three girls hugged. You're back early, Amy said. Liz nodded. We had to cut our beach trip short, thanks to Stuart's sunburn. Now, Stuart is the brother that everybody loves. Yeah. So long, sun and sand, and all because he forgot to put on sunscreen. Makes sense. Stuart was coming around the side of the house. I heard that, he said. Stuart's face, arms, and legs were bright red like a tomato. Hi, Stuart, Ellie shouted cheerfully. She gave him a funny little wave. Stuart was too grumpy to notice. This day gets worse and worse, he said. 3 hours in the car, sitting on sunburned legs, and now I got pawed by some stray puppy. Man, that really hurt. Stuart turned. There, on his shorts, were two muddy paw prints. Amy and Ellie stared. Rufus prints! They crowded around Stuart. What puppy? Amy asked. Where? Ellie cried. Which way did he go? Stuart looked confused. A St. Bernard, I think, he said. He pointed towards the backyard. He ran that way. Amy and Ellie dashed around the side of Liz's house. Liz followed. Wait up, she shouted. What's going on? Amy didn't have time to explain. She and Ellie got to the backyard just in time to spot Rufus, right before he disappeared under the fence. Amy and Ellie dashed over. Rufus! They shouted. The girls peeked through the fence to watch Rufus run through the neighbor's yard. In seconds, he was gone. Liz caught up. She looked over the fence, too. Who was that? She asked. Come on, said Amy. We'll fill you in. The three girls hurried to the clinic. Amy wanted to tell her mom they had seen Rufus. On the way, Amy and Ellie told Liz all about Mrs. Sullivan's missing puppy. Hi, girls, Dr. Purvis said when she saw them. She was out back by the supply shed. Hey, Amy, have you seen that new case of Fritter Critter treats? Amy remembered it had been delivered the day before. I put it in here by the shed door. Huh, Amy's mom said, looking around. Maybe Gail moved it. She looked at Amy. So what's up? The girls told her about seeing Rufus in Liz's backyard. Dr. Purvis was excited. That means Rufus is still in the area, and he's okay, she said. That's great news. Dr. Purvis suggested they put up missing puppy flyers around town. I believe one of you loves to draw? Ellie and Amy looked at Liz. She grinned. The girls worked together. Amy described what Rufus looked like, while Liz did the drawing. Amy decided what the flyer should say. Ellie picked an eye-catching shade of hot pink paper for the flyer. They finished just as Dr. Purvis was locking up the clinic for the day. And on it says, Missing Puppy, Fluffy, Brown, and White St. Bernard. Response to Rufus. Please contact Santa Vista Vet Clinic if found. Thank you. Oh, he's just a soft little puppy in there. All right. Are you guys busy tomorrow? Amy asked her friends. She would need help putting up the flyers. Ellie and Liz smiled. We are now, Liz said. Chapter 8. The New Lead. Dr. Purvis made copies of the flyer on the clinic's photocopier. Then Amy, Ellie, and Liz spent all day Thursday handing them out. They started with number 1 on their list of places to check, the park. Ellie taped a flyer to the notice board by the playground. Meanwhile, Amy checked the field. Liz looked over by the water fountain for pets. There was no sign of Rufus anywhere. Next to the list was the dog run. The girls handed a few flyers to dog owners. And the dog run is like a dog park, just so we all know this. No one had seen Rufus, but everyone said they had looked out for him. Or they'd look for him, rather. Jeez. The girls headed over to the pet store on Main Street. I walked by here with Sam sometimes, Ellie said. Sam was her family's golden retriever. He always stops and barks like crazy. Amy wasn't surprised. There was always cats in the front window. Today, there were some beautiful tabby cats and 3 cute black and white kittens. Amy froze. There was also something else, a muddy paw print right on the window glass. Aha, she said, pointing. The girls spoke to the pet store owner. They gave her a flyer. She remembered a dog that looked like Rufus. Yesterday afternoon, I saw him out front, all alone. When I went to check on him, he ran off. I haven't seen him since. Amy wrote down the info in her notebook. The girls thanked the owner and headed for number 4 on their list, the bakery. The smell of baking bread and cakes made Amy's mouth water. She'd bet a hungry dog could smell this place from miles away. But no one at the bakery had seen Rufus. They hung up more flyers at the grocery store, the post office, the cafe, and on every bulletin board downtown. But they didn't find another clue until... What's that? Ellie asked. Amy had stopped on the town square. She was bending over a piece of trash on the grass. Good for you, Amy, said Liz. We should all do our part to keep the earth clean. Liz and her family were really into the environment. Want me to toss that? No, wait. Know what that is? Amy said. She held up a piece of trash. It was an empty bag of critter treats. And look here. Amy pointed to one corner. It's chewed open. Ellie and Liz understood and nodded. By a hungry puppy? Ellie said. Amy wrote down the clue in her notebook. The list now took up 2 pages. There had to be something. The clues could tell them. So here's what we know, Amy said. She sat down under a shady tree. Ellie and Liz sat down next to her. Rufus is leaving paw prints everywhere. He's been to the pet store, Ellie added, in Liz's yard and in front of the clinic. His prints are always muddy, says Liz, even though it hasn't rained since Monday. Right, said Amy. Someplace that's always wet. She held up the empty treat bag. And where did Rufus find these? The clues and the events of the last week swirled in Amy's mind. Then it hit her. Light bulbs went off in her head. The case of critter treats her mom was looking for. The flower bed at the clinic, watered every morning. The rustling sound she had heard from her backyard Monday night. Of course, Amy shouted. I think I know where to find Rufus. She jumped up and led the girls towards the clinic. Amy had a plan. Chapter 9. Gotcha. On Friday morning, Amy slowly and quietly ate her cereal. Her mom sipped her coffee. She looked across the table at Amy. Nothing yet? She asked. Nope, Amy said, shaking her head. Not yet. Clatter, clatter, crash, came a noise from outside. Amy's eyes brightened. She jumped up from the table. Dr. Purvis rushed to look out the back window. It's Rufus, she cried. She grabbed the leash they had ready. Together, they darted out the back door. Rufus was by the metal trash can, which had been knocked over. The lid was off, and a very muddy Rufus was slurping critter treats off the driveway. Quickly, Dr. Purvis clipped the leash to his collar. Hooray, Dr. Purvis cheered. Amy, I'm so proud of you. Your plan really worked. Amy grinned. She felt proud of her plan, too. The clues had got her to thinking. Had Rufus been hanging around the clinic the whole time? On Thursday afternoon, Amy and her friends had searched all around the clinic. They didn't find Rufus, but they did find what was left of the missing case of critter treats. They also found lots and lots of Rufus prints. The girls put a plan in motion. They took a package of critters and left a trail of treats leading to Amy's trash can. They put a bunch of treats on the lid. So when Rufus jumped up to get them, crash! It worked perfectly, Amy cried. Mrs. Sullivan will be so happy, her mom said. I'll go call her. And then she looked down at Rufus and pinched her nose. Amy smelt it too. Woof! Rufus needed a bath. Chapter 10. Mrs. Sullivan's Idea. Amy called Liz and Ellie from the clinic. Liz came over right away. Ellie arrived next. Look who I found on the way, she said. Marion came in behind her. She held up her blue ribbon. She and Coco had won first place at the horse show. Amy, Liz, and Ellie crowded around her for a group hug. Rufus ran in from the other room. He put two muddy front paws on Marion's knees. Marion patted him on the head. Hiya, Rufus, she said. Ellie was just telling me all about you and your muddy paws. Rufus wagged his tail, and it didn't stop wagging as the girls splashed, soaped, rinsed, dried, and brushed him. When they were done, Rufus was one clean and happy dog. Wait, said Marion. He needs a little something extra. She tied her blue ribbon to Rufus' collar. Perfect. Aw, said Amy. Nice touch, Marion. I agree, said Dr. Purvis from the hallway. Girls, Mrs. Sullivan is in the waiting room. How about we bring her this handsome pup? Amy noticed her friends looking a little nervous. Don't worry, guys, she said. You'll like Mrs. Sullivan. Rufus led the way. He ran right to Miss Sullivan. She knelt down with her arms wide open. Rufus jumped up and licked her face over and over. She hugged him tight and smiled from ear to ear. My Rufus, she cried. Oh, thank you, Dr. Purvis, and thank you, girls. Amy, your mom told me how you tracked Rufus down. I can't even tell you how grateful I am. Amy could feel herself blushing, but she didn't mind. Glad to help, Mrs. Sullivan, Amy said quietly. Miss Sullivan stood up. I want to ask you and your friends for help with something else. I was just discussing it with your mom. Dr. Purvis nodded. After this Rufus adventure, I've decided that I want to open an animal shelter here in Santa Vista, Mrs. Sullivan went on. I have a big barn that's empty and isn't being used. I thought it might be the perfect spot. Amy gasped. What a great idea, she cried. Mrs. Sullivan smiled. I'm so glad you think so, Amy. I can't do it alone. I mean, I do have the money in the barn. Dr. Purvis kindly offered to be the veterinarian for the shelter, but there will be lots of other work to do. Feeding and taking care of the animals. Mrs. Sullivan looked at all the girls. Would you four mind helping me get it started? The girls looked at one another, wide-eyed. Mind, cried Marion. Are you serious? Asked Liz. It's the most exciting thing that's ever happened to me, cried Ellie. Amy jumped up and down. We'd love to. Dr. Purvis smiled at the girls. Mrs. Sullivan, I think you have a deal. Chapter 11. The End and the Beginning. That night, the girls were all sitting around Liz's bedroom. It was Friday night, and there was time for one more sleepover before spring break was over. What a week, said Liz, drawing in her sketch pad. That was the shortest beach vacation I've ever had, thanks to Stuart. Ellie was pecking out a tune on Liz's electric keyboard. Yeah, spring break was not long enough. At least Lenny's singing is getting better, she said, rolling her eyes. Marion had brought her scrapbook. She was adding photos from the horse show. I had a blast at the show, she said, but I feel like I missed all the fun here. It was a fun week in Santa Vista, Amy thought. She'd been so busy that she hadn't had time to finish her Nancy Drew book. Amy looked down at the last page, and it says, at last all the clues added up. Nancy could prove that Sandy Jessup had taken the pony. But if Sandy wouldn't admit it, how would Nancy ever find the pony? Mr. Gilbert brings the pony back. I believe this belongs to you. His tone is gruff, he says. But Nancy could swear she saw a twinkle in his eye. That reminds me, said Amy. Isn't Mrs. Sullivan the best? The girls all agreed. You were right, Amy, said Ellie. We were judging the book by its cover. She's not at all what I thought, said Marion. Can you believe she let us pick the name of the shelter? Liz turned her sketch pad around. Look, she said. I drew up an ad. Maybe we can get it in the next week's edition of the Santa Vista Star. The Critter Club, Marion read Liz's poster. I love the name we came up with, she said happily. Everyone else nodded. I bet Rufus likes the name too, said Ellie. It sounds a lot like Fritter Critter, his favorite treats. Amy laughed. As long as we stock the barn with those treats, Rufus won't care what we call it. She smiled, thinking about all the other animals that the Critter Club would help. Spring break was almost over, but it felt like the beginning of a big new adventure. The Critter Club now open. The end. So what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments.